I want to talk about volunteers. What does it look like to be a volunteer, but also to have other people want to volunteer? Let me ask you a question. Why do you think we have volunteers? I'd like some of your answers. Why do you guys think we have volunteers? Yes. To have bigger meetings. Okay, very good. To create teamwork. People love to volunteer. Identify skills. Make people feel important. Something else over here, Bonnie, did you say? Empowerment. So you don't have to do it yourself. Yep. Be a part of something. That's good. Yes. Create future leaders. Something back. Imprint. Those are all incredible answers. You know, so many times we think as GMTSS coordinators that we have meetings so that we can train people. That is an important part of what we do. But another very important part is to have people be a part of something where they feel like that meeting could have never happened if it wasn't for me. Of course, they're going to show up at that meeting, but you keep them in the room until they see the light. Because you never know when that billionth of a volt is going to go off for them. You never know. You know, there's been people that we've worked with through the years. We've been on franchise owners for 23 years. There's been people we've worked with through the years that they were stable, they were waiting, they became involved in our council, they started working, and then they were sitting in a meeting one day and they're like, I can do this. And then they went out and built the business. But that wasn't going to happen if they were home, you know, watching television or Netflix that night. The only way it was going to happen is them being in that room. Them being around camaraderie, being around people that are like talking about a vision of where their future is going. And Colin said it earlier, but people love to help. But so many times as leaders, you know, we are doing tasks and we don't even ask for help. You know, the first thing I try to do is if I'm needing something, I will go up to, you know, Martha and say, Martha, can you help me? What do you think her response is? Sure, what can I do? Have you ever gone up to somebody and say, can you help me? They're like, nah, I don't have time for you. I don't care what that person's personality is. They're like, yes, how can I help you? So getting them involved, finding tasks that every person can do. You know, there's a couple in the Kansas City area that she's had a lot of health issues. They've actually have sponsored one person to business. They haven't found their second person. You know, it's been a little bit of a process for them. They have a learning curve that they're having to go through in building their own franchise. But she started setting up our product display. And it is absolutely fabulous. I mean, even to the point where, like if she has like Royal Spa up there, she'll have like this scarf that's blue and it has lights underneath. It looks like it's running water. And so, I mean, it's truly unbelievable. But every time it's different. And so everybody comes to our UBPs or local seminars. They cannot wait to see what the product display looks like. She's found a home. So is she going to be around? Cherie's going to be around probably forever because she gets recognized for that. But what's happened is, initially is she found her first person, didn't find her second person, but through the process, she's been learning, she's growing, and now is activated. I don't know if that would have happened, you know, over a year, 2 years period of time if she wasn't plugged into the system. So really finding a place for everybody, and everybody has gold. Everybody has a place that they can work. So use volunteers, like I said earlier, in their strengths and in their giftings. So it's almost like, you know, sifting through, finding good, and everybody has good. You know, and even like the newest person, we could have somebody that is the newest unfranchised owner, or even somebody that is somebody that's evaluating the business. You know, we'll say to him, hey, will you do me a favor? In the meeting today, will you really look around and see what are some areas that we could improve that maybe you could help us? You know, we know that you have interior decorating. You know, would you help us to make this room look better? You know, that person is like sitting there taking notes. They feel like at that point they are part of our group, even if they are the newest unfranchised owner. But it's sifting through, how can I find strengths and gifts that that person has? You know, when David and I first started in the Kansas City area, we moved there. There weren't any meetings going on. We were already regional directors. There wasn't a district coordinator, so we went ahead and were that position as well. And then we started the Kansas City area, so we were local coordinator and UBP coordinator all in one. So at one time, we were UBP, local, district, and regional. That's exhausting. But what we did is as soon as possible, we started putting together teams. So we brought the teams into our house, these people that were just showing up at meetings. And we were like, we sent around a yellow pad, and we went through all of the things that are associated with being a part of the association. And in doing that, we were like, write some of your strengths down. What are your areas of interest? Well, I am so thankful we found George Weaver. George Weaver ended up taking our administrative team. Well, he'd been a banker for years, something I dislike very much. I don't enjoy numbers. I don't enjoy any of those things. He was able to go through. He's amazing. That's a gift of George Weaver's. Then we had Aaron McMichael. Aaron McMichael was like, I love decorating. I love finding out what people like. And so like when a speaker comes in, she will go through their Facebook. She knows what kind of candy they like. She's even contacted their friends and said, what's their favorite quote? So when they come, they've got quotes up in their room. They have like cups that maybe they've been wanting for years. I mean, it's unbelievable through talking to people. Isn't that true, Trina? I mean, it's absolutely amazing. For me, that is not a gift. That would be exhausting for me. For her, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. But she's found a home. Again, using the strengths and gifts of others and incorporating them, but then also recognizing them for the things that they're doing. So giving instruction, can you go back one? There you go. Give great instructions too. So when you're telling somebody about a job that they're going to be doing, let's say that they're new in that position, make sure you give really great instructions to that person so they have a clear vision of what you're trying to accomplish, but then let them do their job. Very important. If it's not being done the way that you feel it should be done, let them do their job. Don't say anything. And then you can save the coaching for Monday when you get together. But when you do the coaching, ask how could it be improved? Don't come in right away and say, I saw you did this, this, and this wrong. Ask them, how do you feel that we could improve on what happened at the local seminar on Saturday? When you do that, we found out that people really know the answers. They know. Give them an opportunity to be able to figure out this for themselves. Because what we found out is the person that solves the most money, the person that solves the most problems always makes the most money. So you want to make sure you're giving them an opportunity to solve their own problems. And in that, you can even suggest, well, how about this? What if we incorporated this? And giving them a couple of tips, letting them do their job, come back after the next event, evaluate it. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What do we want to change for the future? Measure, monitor, adjust, and control. And then the next thing is recognize, recognize, recognize. You cannot say this word enough. Recognize, recognize, recognize. Become really great at recognizing other people. I have a story when Colton was little. That's my son Colton back there, by the way. When Colton was a little boy, he was like maybe the first grade. We had, like when you went up the stairs to come into our house, we had this thing like a handrail that was there. And he was hanging upside down on that handrail when David came outside and he said, hey, Dad, look. And David's like, yeah, that's really good, Colton. And he goes, well, come on down. He goes, no, I'm going to wait here till Mom gets here because she'll be really excited when she sees me. He was knowing I would give him more recognition. He's like, I'm going to wait for Mom because Mom will really recognize me. I don't care if somebody's in first grade or they're 80 years old. Everybody needs to be recognized. Getting really great. If you don't get good at anything else but recognition, I tell you what, you will have a soaring, incredible team. So really get great at recognizing and finding every opportunity to recognize people because rewarded behavior always gets repeated. Very important. Yes? Yeah, so Dave wanted me to say, even in a meeting sometimes, in a meeting, we recognize people from the front, for maybe, contribution or the success, but 90% of the recognition is still one-on-one. Hey, Joe, thank you so much. You did such a great job. I really appreciate you doing that. Benson, thank you for carrying that in. I just really appreciate you always taking the initiative. Recognizing people, even if it's not in front of a room, it's recognizing and being thankful. So you got 90% and 10%. 10% may be in front of the room, but 90% of your time continuing to recognize people. And then Ton already said it earlier, but using different lines of sponsorship, there's multiple reasons for that. It's kind of like creating a fork in the road, it's like, or a fork in your family tree. You want those? That's very important. And so when you are leading an area, you want multiple lines of sponsorship. So let's say we have 95% of the room in the Kansas City area are within our organization, but on our AS&P team, out of the 3 chair people, 2 are not within our organization. They're in different lines of sponsorship. What's really great about that is when you use different lines of sponsorship, that means they have leaders from other areas that are willing to come into your area because their organization is being represented. And so using different lines of sponsorship and using that leadership in those areas. And then create a family feel. You want people to feel like this is a family. You know, one of the people that's actually our speaker chair, Jamie Howell, he's not in our organization, but literally, like when he comes up to get recognized, he will cry. He said, this has become my family. You know, we're not financially connected in any way whatsoever, but this is my family. And I think it's important to know that people rarely quit the business, they quit relationships. And so understanding when you tie in those relationships and people feeling better when they're around you and part of something much bigger than anything else that they're doing. So creating that is such an important part. So volunteers, like you guys said, there's so many reasons for them, but understanding that we have to have them. If we want to get bigger and better, we have to have volunteers to help us to do that.